Oh, yeah. Time to talk a little ball with our favorite head coach, Dave Campo and Joe, as we get it rocking and rolling. Joe C. from XL Primetime. It's still cold weather out there, Coach, but we're right now fighting our way through the storm. And I guess the saddest part of the football season is when it finally comes to an end. And it's going to come to an end with Super Bowl 60 on Sunday.
Yeah, good to see you, Joe, as always. Sorry we missed last week, but the cold got me a little bit. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is an exciting week, obviously, because of the Super Bowl, but the ending of the season is close. And but you know what? It's been a great season for the Jaguars, any way you look at it. And I'm looking forward to what they do in the offseason, and we'll be talking about that quite a bit, I'm sure. And hey, there's hope. There's hope, and more hope than I've had in the whole time I've been doing this with you, to be honest with you.
Yeah, our buddy Matt Hayes says hope is not a plan. Well, guess what? It is. Okay, it's the beginning of good things to look forward to. And as you just said, I think you just said it accurately, Coach. As long as you and I have been doing Campo and Joe, this is the biggest heyday, honestly, that we've enjoyed. Even though they didn't win a playoff game, they won one against the Chargers and almost beat the Chiefs. But this one feels a little different. It does.
Well, it feels better as a team. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, I think there was some, some situations back when they won those playoff games where you said, man, there was a lot of luck involved in that. You come back from a 20, whatever it was, against 27 point, at the end of a ball game, that there's a little bit, things have to go your way the whole day, and this one, we were in it right from the beginning. And, unfortunately, we faced one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and we made a couple critical mistakes, and that's something that we didn't do all year, really. So my feeling is that the plan you just talked about is there, and it's going to be really important this year what we do in the draft, in my opinion.
All right, so as we set up today's show, Coach is going to go back in time. He happens to have 3 Super Bowl rings, so he's got a lot of good memories as far as the Super Bowl is concerned. His time with the Dallas Cowboys, and you guys can jump in, Jaguar questions, Super Bowl questions. We'd love for you to jump in the chat wherever you're finding us via the 1010XL YouTube channel with the Jaguars, or X, Instagram, wherever it might be. We totally appreciate you guys checking us out, and throw some comments our way, that's for sure. So free agency is going to be a big topic, Coach. But before we get into that just a little bit, last night they had the NFL honors. Trevor was up for an MVP, comeback player of the year, and then Liam Cohen up for coach of the year. Mike Vrabel wins coach of the year. And these guys basically had the same type of season, unbelievable season. If you wanted to argue, the vote comes in before we know that New England and Mike Vrabel are in the Super Bowl. So you can't use that as one of the reasons you would have voted for him over Liam Cohen. But if nothing else, Coach, the fact that Vrabel had past experience, had taken a team to the postseason before, this was, I believe, more impressive what Liam Cohen did in Jacksonville based on this being his first go as a head coach.
Yeah, well, my feeling was that, when you look at where, the Jaguars were and where the Bears were, I think those two guys would have been well deserving of that honor. I think the thing with Vrabel is, I think they looked at it like, here's a guy that was thrown into the trash heap and came out in 1 year after the Bill Belichick leaving for and struggling at the end, and then leaving, and then to turn it around like that, you have to say, hey, he's deserving as well. Who knows on those votes? I mean, obviously there's a lot of conjecture about the Hall of Fame class. There's a lot of conjecture about every time it comes down to a subjective decision. You always look at it and say, well, gee, my guy was pretty darn good. I don't know why he didn't get in there. So I think Vrabel, and I watched him last night when he got to, when they had him on.
Right.
I mean, he was, really humble and complimentary of everybody. I'm happy he got it. I think Liam Cohen, I think everybody knows in the league that he and Johnson and some of those other guys that were in there were worthy of the honor. They just, fell a little bit short.
Yeah, I'll put it to you this way. I'd much rather Mike Vrabel win Coach of the Year as the Patriots head coach than the Titans head coach.
Oh, absolutely.
I will tell you that.
Listen, we're on the same page there. We hate the Mayo eaters. So, no question.
Now, this is a soundbite that maybe we will play next week if Yoda can crank it out for us. But Liam Cohen said something interesting as he made his way through Radio Row. He visited a lot of the national shows, and he popped on McAfee, and he basically said, and I'm just basically giving you the title of it, everything changed when Jacoby Myers was acquired. And I don't think any of us would deny that. But I guess I was mildly surprised that he was willing to basically tell the rest of the team that one dude walked in from the outside and changed everything. Compliment for Jacoby Myers, big time. But I thought it was interesting the way he stated it.
Well, I think there's two things there. I think, number one, he's absolutely right. I mean, I think that there was a sense before he got there that there were too many drops. There were too many situations. Everybody was negative on Thomas. He wasn't doing exactly what they felt he should be doing. And you look at it that way, even though we were doing well at that point, the catalyst was him jumping up and Washington jumping up. Yep. Those two guys, even Washington had a drop before that, so, the addition of him was a big, big plus. You look at it this way as well. Vrabel, what he did in New England was done with free agency. When you really look at, they have $300 million of free agency come in. That he turned that around that way. Well, we turned it around with a trade from a standpoint that we got a guy that was consistent, a guy that Trevor knew he could go to in critical situations, made tough catches. I think he was definitely the catalyst of us going forward, and then the confidence level of the football team jumped up a ton.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you think of one guy, and like you said, it was more than one guy, but the fact that we have kind of put a stamp on Jacoby Myers, he changed the season. That is high praise. He gets a contract out of it. There's a lot of things that you can build from having him in the building. The pressure ramped up for BTJ to do his part. Parker obviously accepted that role. And there's just so much to be excited about. Most points scored in a season by this franchise because Liam Cohen plus Trevor plus all these other guys, they became a very formidable bunch for people to defend.
Yeah, they did what they said they were going to do. They improved the entire football team, but the excitement, the energy, and all that went through the veterans as well. I mean, you had guys like Van Lanen, you had guys like Harrison, you had guys that Lloyd, guys Johnson in the back end. There were guys that we had kind of, I don't want to put them in the trash, but they were on the way to the compactor, and all of a sudden, all those guys, it came to fruition. So what Cohen did and what Gladstone did and Baselli is they did what they said they were going to do. They improved the floor. They jumped it up. And then some of the guys that have to do well did well based on the fact that the whole team improved and the excitement and the energy. So, I felt from the beginning that this coaching staff was going to have more energy. And they did, for sure, in my mind.
We need to be looking at some free agents possibilities as we get closer and closer to March when everything happens. But the one big bust in their free agent spending last year was De'Ami Brown. It was a $10 million miss, and that happens. But at the same time, there were plenty of other guys that hit, the Eric Murrays, the Jordan Lewis's. You can go down the line. You may say Patrick McCary missed as well, but he just was never really 100% healthy. And maybe the same is true with De'Ami with the shoulder. But the bottom line is De'Ami was 100% a miss, and another guy came in the building and changed that room. And then with McCary, he just never really was able to stay 100% healthy.
Well, yeah, and you're right on that. I'm not going to go as far as you on the receiver.
Yeah,
because Diami, to be honest with you, they had to do that.
Yeah.
They had to make that decision. And when he first got there, I felt that he was a viable guy as a third receiver or whatever. But then all of a sudden, Washington goes crazy, and Jacoby Myers, he's expendable. So you look at it like, well, hey, I don't look at that as a bust. I look at that as they made a decision that they needed a guy that had a chance as still a young player to give them another option, and hopefully he could fill that role. Well, he never had to.
Yeah.
He never really had to, because at the end they had the other guys there that were doing the job, really.
And the other good thing about this new regime, and why I think they're so much better than what was here, and that's an easy thing to say based on the success this team has had, but they were quickly willing to go right back to the well, not admit a mistake, because I agree with the way you described it. They had to sign Diami. They were looking for someone to inject a little more offense. But guess what? They said, you know what? It ain't working the way we needed it to work. We're not going to wait till next offseason and apologize then for making a bad decision. We're going to go out and we're going to react to the situation, and we're going to give you another player.
The same thing with Bigsby.
Yeah.
They made the decision, hey, we're going to go with young players. And that's why I just said a minute ago that I think the real key to what we do going forward is what they do in the draft, not free agency. Because, first of all, they don't have the money in free agency. They got to keep their own guys. And I'm a little worried about Lloyd and Etienne. But, overall, I think that they are willing to go with young players, which to me, it's a young man's game. If you can find guys that have a chance to do something spectacular early, you go with that guy. Don't fool around. Don't wait for 2-3 years to see if he comes around. Throw him out there and let him play. At the same time, you got to win games. So, it's a fine line there. But, we're going to see, for example, with Lloyd, how valuable is Lloyd after 1 year?
Yeah.
Or are there linebackers out there in the draft, especially, that they feel that can fill that void? Or do they go with Ventrell Miller? There's a lot of things that have to be decided. But I really think that these guys, they're willing to do whatever it takes to win now. They're not looking 2-3 years down the road. They're saying, hey, we're going to play young players and give us a chance to win now.
Yeah. And the idea that Anthony Campanile came in and unlocked a lot of guys, the guys we just talked about, Antonio Johnson on the back end, obviously Devin Lloyd, what he was able to do. Those two dudes combined for 10 picks. They were 1/3 basically of the takeaways that this team had on the defensive side of the ball. We're talking about huge up ramps in their play. But going back to good coaching and good drafting, then I agree with you, Coach. They may view it as, hey, while Devin Lloyd had a great season, is there another guy that we can identify that we can coach up and put him in the same spot and not be locked into whatever an expensive contract might be?
Well, that's going to be the biggest thing to me going forward. You don't want to lose Lloyd. I'd say if there was anybody you didn't want to lose, it's him. Yeah. Because I think he is so versatile. That's the thing that makes him special. He can cover.
Yeah.
He didn't make mistakes this year, which he did a ton of the year before. So that's a credit to their scheme and their coaching staff.
Yeah, a ton of them 3 years before.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he he can rush the passer.
Yeah.
He gives you that edge with coming from somebody from inside, that can put pressure on the quarterback. He's big enough that he can come in there and take on a guard or whatever and set up a game with the defensive ends. All of those things are positive. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he's going to cost some money. When you're second team Pro Bowl, whatever, all pro, whatever he was, that commands money, and it comes down to money, in my opinion.
All right, let me give you two things from PFF, and we'll probably bring this up on XLP later. We brought it up yesterday with Big Sirs and Maddie, and PFF at least put out a decent number, okay, that from a financial point of view wasn't terrible franchise tag, if you hit him with it, it's 27 plus. Okay, that's a lot of cheddar. So 27 million. They threw out a number that they thought based on, they ranked him as the number 4 free agent this offseason, and they put him in at about $17.5 million, something in that neighborhood. Okay, because Fred Warner has the biggest contract. He's somewhere around 21. They named a few other guys that would be a little bit below that. But basically, you would give him an average of close to 18 million. You're basically looking at 3 years, 48, something in that neighborhood. If they could pull that off, Coach, would you do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to find out. Obviously, he's going to go out and test the market, and we're going to see where that lands. But I would certainly do that. And I would, again, I stayed away from all the financials. Okay. I only looked at whether or not the guy helps us win or lose. That's the bottom line. So I don't know exactly, what Gladstone's thinking as far as the money is concerned and all those kind of things. But I can tell you, he's a very important cog, in my opinion, unless the one good thing is this is a big linebacker draft. Mm-hmm. I haven't looked at all of them, but I know that the prognosticators are saying this is one of the best linebacker draft classes in a long time. So there's a lot of things to look at before you make that decision. But if I had my choice as a defensive coach, I want Lloyd. I think Lloyd has turned the corner.
Yeah, and he could be blossoming, which is what you want, a guy at peak. He's 27 years of age. He'll turn 28 during the season. But if it's less than 17 million, and they put it, like I said, around 48, and you could make it work, it would be nice to see that. But if you bring in a Jacob Rodriguez, they probably can't get to that guy in the draft. He'll be too high. But I agree with what you're saying. And they believe in their coaches, and they believe in their development and everything that they're going to do, then they're not going to be afraid. But if you do see a player ratcheted up like that, that's one of the most important positions on the defensive side of the ball, because he's a havoc player. And PFF ranked him, Coach, top 10 in run, pass defense, and blitz and win rate. So high praise.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, this defense, I've said this before, and I'm sure you agree with me. Mm-hmm. This was not a great defense without the turnovers.
Yeah, 100%.
The turnovers were a huge part of it, and you don't get turnovers every year. So to go in and say, I thought Campanile did a great job. I'm a fan. There's no question about it of him. And I'm a fan of their coaching staff, and they added some guys, they added a guy on defense and a guy on offense, but the guy on defense, to be a run game coordinator or whatever he is, run game, I don't know what they call it anymore. We had 3 coaches on defense. These guys have got about 25. So it's a change game. But at the same time, to me, turnovers are the biggest stat going. Yeah. And it doesn't happen all the time, but if you have great energy and you're around the ball all the time, that's when they do happen. Yeah. And he's one of the guys that was able to do that. So, to me, I think, that's a priority, but you don't always get the priorities. No. Sometimes you just can't afford the priorities, and that's something that they have to make a decision on.
All right, so let's hit a couple of other things, Jag related, and then we'll wrap it up with some good memories as far as Super Bowl are concerned, with your 3 Super Bowl rings that you have, and the pursuit this year. They were very close. What you just described, defensively, they didn't take the ball away from Josh Allen enough, and they gave up too many plays. They lacked pressure. They lacked enough good play on the back end that ended up costing them. There's no getting away from that. And so they scored enough in that game. They just didn't stop Josh Allen enough. And so priority, as you said, is going to be huge on that side of the ball. How much bigger is it going to be on that side of the ball if you're trying to forecast maybe re-signing a guy or putting a lot of your draft eggs early in the draft on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I think they're going to go, again, depending on what they do with Lloyd, I think they're going to load up on defense. I think that they still need to look at the big people. They have to look at the offensive line.
Yeah.
Because there's some older guys there. You win up front. There's no question about it. But they need to get some young guys that can rush the passer, can put pressure on the passer, and then on the back end, they've got in my opinion, they've got their number one pick with Hunter on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's number one. There it is. Yeah. Okay. So now, how much do they like Ray
Lane? Yeah, Ray Lane.
Ray Lane. How much do they like some of the guys that didn't get an opportunity to go this year? Yeah. Those kind of things are important. I think Murray's an older guy. They might have to, retool a little bit there, but I don't think Dewey's going to make it this year. I hate to say it because I think he's a good team guy, but they're gonna make some picks on that side of the ball. There's no question in my mind, and I think it'll be early.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, so we got some guys to study that we'll be doing over the next handful of weeks as we just keep cranking out Campo and Joe weekly for all you Jaguar fans. Super Bowl memories, sir. Let's go back in time. The Dallas Cowboys, you were on the defensive side of the ball. You were a coordinator for one, a coach for the two others, correct? Do I have that right? And one under Switzer, two under Jimmy. Some memories. Coach.
Well, first of all, I get asked all the time, why has it been 30 years since the last one with the Cowboys? And there's a very easy answer to me. Okay, this is just my opinion, obviously. To win in the big games, you have to have a quarterback. Okay, they've got it. Just talking about the Cowboys now.
Yeah.
Okay, we had Aikman. They've got Dak Prescott. You can say whatever you want. Dak Prescott's good enough.
Yeah, he is.
To get it there. You have to have some explosive players. They've got that. They've got, Pickens. I think they're going to keep Pickens. So, they've got that. Now, they have not had, and you have to have a good defense to win it.
Yeah,
when you look back over the years, even our triplets on offense, we played great defense down the stretch in all those Super Bowls and all through the year. They've had some good defenses since that time. As a matter of fact, my second year as a head coach, we were number one in the league on defense.
Okay.
So they have had some of those, but they haven't had the combination since that time. They haven't had the combination of a great quarterback, some explosive players, and a Super Bowl defense.
Yeah.
So to me, my greatest memories were that when you look back at it, our defense won some ball games. That game in 95, if we don't get the interceptions, we don't win.
Yeah.
So in the pass rush, Charles Haley, all those kind of things we did not become a Super Bowl team until Charles Haley got there.
Yeah.
Charles Haley coming in was a catalyst like Jacoby is on offense. He was a catalyst for us. And so my biggest memory was when you look at 92, that first one, when I'm standing on that sidelines and those Jets hit, there wasn't anybody that wasn't crying. And when you look back at some of the Super Bowls today, you see guys on the sidelines crying. When that national anthem is being played, there's guys with tears in their eyes. And that's what it means in the Super Bowl game. That's the memory to me.
Yeah, it's a pinnacle, and there's no question about it. You're the only one that everyone, and you could say the world, that's not an exaggeration. It's the most watched event annually. And it does come from a lot of different places. It's not just one guy that's getting it done. And like you said, if a team applies pressure, which you guys did, and Big Search we'll hear from it, hear from you later on that one. Neil O'Donnell cracked and your defense did the job against them. And the Larry Browns of the world made their names in that Super Bowl, and it was because of pressure. So, yeah, Irvin, Emmett, Troy, they all did their thing, but the defense, you are correct, sir, had a hell of a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and to me, I think once they get, I honestly believe they changed their defensive coaches, but I think they have to go after it in the draft with the Cowboys right now if they're going to have a shot at it. Mm-hmm. But I think they're going to have a shot at it if they can get the defense fixed. And
they suck defensively right now. They're terrible. All right, so Seahawks Patriots. Real quick thought on what side you are on this big ball game.
Well, this is a tough one to pick because when you look at the statistics, the New England Patriots have the edge on offense, and the Seattle Seahawks have the edge on defense. Now, the Patriot defense, though, has come on in the playoffs, but their offense has regressed because May has turned the ball over, and obviously is a young player in there. And then you go over to the Seahawks. The defense is outstanding, and the offense is played okay, but the quarterback is prone to some mistakes. Yeah. So, but my feeling is, as a defensive coach, the Seahawks are the ones that are going to win this game because I think defensively they're going to cause enough problems with Drake May and their offense. I'm picking them, and I'm picking there might be a 2-score victory in this ball game, in my opinion.
Well, and they've done it with a kind of a not all through the draft, not all by purchasing free agent players. They were top 4 in spending in free agency because they had to buy Darnold and they had to buy 1 or 2 other bigger pieces. But here's the thing that blew my mind, Coach, as we wrap it up. John Schneider, and you can only hope that Jimmy Gladstone's can do for Duval what Snyder has done up in Seattle. He's the only GM in NFL history to take 2 teams to the Super Bowl with entirely different rosters.
That's unbelievable. And really, I'm going to be honest with you. When they went with Seattle with Pete Carroll, they had the best defense in the league. Yeah. And now they have one of the best, if not the best defense in the league. So it kind of reinforces my feeling that that's what it takes to win it when it's in the playoffs situation.
All right, good stuff as always, Coach. We appreciate it. Our head coach, Dave Campo, we will talk to you next week on Campo and Joe. We'll talk to you later on XL Prime Time. We'll be back on our Thursday time slot. Yoda, great job as always. We appreciate Jake for producing our show, and anybody that catches it either live or later on our 1010XL social channels. We appreciate all of Duval and beyond. Coach, happy Super Bowl. We will talk to you later.
Yeah, and listen, I enjoy it, and I wish I was there with you, actually, standing next to you. But we're doing good. Let's keep it rolling, and go Jags.
Yep, you the man. All right, thank you, Coach. We will talk to all y'all next week.